What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm JLAG and I'm here with
NBEA.
And we are here doing Riverdale, Chapter 18, and it's called
When a Stranger Calls.
Ring, ring,
So
ring,
the stranger has already called Betty.
Yeah.
That's how we ended off last episode.
Right.
So this episode again starts off like that. But before we go into it,
First and foremost,
yeah,
I know that we do MVPs at Recap
we're
Roundup.
gonna be famous.
But I just want to do a amazing shout out to one of our brand new fans, I guess you could say.
And like honestly, we've been getting so much love. Like in the
Yeah.
past week.
Yeah.
You guys have been giving us so much love
much
on
love.
Twitter, on iTunes, and we've been feeling it. But
MVP
when
has
Daddy
to go
calls,
to-
Daddy calls.
Mark and Suelos came through and listened to the podcast and gave us all the feels in the world.
He said that we make him laugh a lot.
Make him laugh.
That's
period.
big. That's
a lot.
big.
That's big for us.
It's big for us. And
that was a moment for us.
It was definitely a moment.
We were very, very ecstatic all week.
So thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Again,
thank you, Mark. We love you.
Thank you guys for listening and
thank you everybody for listening. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. We have a lot of fun doing these, so we're really happy that you guys are loving us and laughing with us too.
Anyway, yeah.
So let's get into the episode because this was a really friggin' heavy episode.
Shoosh.
My stomach still is hurting right now because like that gave me like anxiety. Like it was heavy.
It was intense.
So before we start though, I want to talk about this with you quickly because my prediction for the killer, just because I think we're going to talk about this like throughout the episode.
You want to know what?
So my prediction for the killer before the episode was number one was Tallboy, which is the guy that Jughead is talking to at the serpents.
Yeah.
But then everyone keeps talking about the sheriff being like the possible killer.
Sheriff Keller.
And I'm like, okay, I don't know. Like it's kind of maybe because like he's so freaking useless. Like having one copy is so useless.
Right.
But then I don't know. I think it might be Hal.
Ooh.
And people have been saying it's Hal. Like people on Twitter have been saying like Hal is the killer. But when you compare like the eyes and you want to look at like the actual like physical part of it, I don't think they look alike.
Yeah.
Like I think Tallboy looks like the killer the most.
Right.
But in terms of how Hal has been and just like what's happening to Betty in this episode, and I'm like, I feel like it just makes the most sense that it would be Hal.
What do you think his motive would be?
I don't know.
Because whatever
I
goes
just feel
down
like-
this episode with even between Betty and Alice, it like it causes a rift between the
Yeah,
families.
and you know, right? Like you know that Hal and Alice have always had drama. Like they've never been like the solid couple. And it's funny because again, I was watching like old episodes over the weekend.
Yeah.
And there's a part where Betty thinks that Hal was the killer of last season.
Right.
And Alice comes in and starts laughing.
Yeah.
She's like, you think your dad would ever kill something? He's not even capable of doing that.
Yeah. You're pathetic.
And so
He's
like
pathetic.
when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, like, is he trying to like come back this season and like prove to like everyone that he is capable or like he can still like do shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And then this whole like Alice thing in this episode threw me off because I'm like, who like it was almost like when he mentioned Alice in his like ask of Betty, like the hatred was like coming through.
So that's an interesting theory. But at the same time, do you think that so we discovered that the letter that was written to Alice is different from the letter that was written to Betty.
So, and also that I don't believe the sheriff. Like I don't believe this guy. Like I feel like
So it could be
everything
the
this guy
sheriff,
has, like every
potentially.
single evidence this guy presents, it's like not like good evidence.
Yeah.
He's like, it came back wrong. It came back a duplicate. It came back like, come on.
Yeah.
How do I trust you right now?
Yeah.
Like who's your specialist over here in Riverdale? Who's your people?
Who are you sending this to?
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Your wife?
Because that thing me too. I was like, I don't know if I believe you though.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I'll go with your
And
instincts because I feel like NB's pretty on point with these things. So mark this episode because we can go back to it at the season finale when we find out. Because I'm pretty sure like NB's like pretty good with this.
And
kind of
stuff. And like another thing, we'll talk about this too. But Hal at that event sketched me out. First of all, Mans is wearing like some next GQ like fitted custom suit.
Yeah.
His hair is like slicked back.
Yeah.
I'm like, when did he go from like small town dad
Basic,
to like all of
yeah.
a sudden like he's like with Hiram Lodge and stuff, you know? And like when someone asked him like, where's Alice? He put that down so
was quick
fast.
to
He's like,
be
oh
like-
yeah, she's at home. Like she's not coming.
Right.
I was like,
right.
what the hell? Like, no. no, Hal.
No.
I see you.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
okay, that's kind of where I I'm at right now. Okay.
But yeah, let's see what happens. Okay, let's get into the episode.
Yeah.
Like you said, it was a fantastic episode. It was very, very dark, very, very
really dark,
real, very, very like changing. Like this was like a huge shift happened this whole episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, it starts off with a phone call. It continues right after like last episode. And so she starts to talk to him and starts to ask a bunch of questions. And the first thing she says is like, were you at the town hall? And he's like, oh yeah.
He's like, yes, I was.
Baby. He's got this like scream, like I guess saw like modulated voice going on. And so that's what happens. And then ooh, I just got chills. Anyway, we'll talk.
What? Say it.
Okay, real quick. The episode is called When a Stranger Calls.
Okay.
The movie When a Stranger Calls is about a guy stalking a woman in a house.
Okay.
And I am pretty sure at some point in time, that whole famous horror film line is the call is coming from inside the house.
Oh,
is a line, right? So
oh, hally hell. We see you.
Hell no.
Oh, hell no.
So that'll be very interesting.
Oh, that's good. Good job. Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So yeah, going back to the Black Hood, he's like, tonight was all about you, and she's like, what do you want? And she's like, I just want what you want. But she's like, I don't want to kill.
I don't know what I want.
I don't want to kill people. And then he's like, I want to kill people like your sister.
Yeah.
And then she glitches out because he's like, I know exactly where she is. She's at a farm 2 hours north.
Like, I'm gonna carve her out like a pumpkin. Like that's
like a chicken.
Like a chicken.
You've got some Halloween tip on your stuff.
Why a chicken? Ew, that's even more disgusting. I was like, oh, a pumpkin. I'm like, he's still on Halloween.
Carve you like a pumpkin. Just put a little happy face. Yeah. Ew. So it got really, really dark. And then he's like, you cannot contact anybody about this situation that we've got going on right now. You got to keep this situation secret or else I will kill your sister.
Yeah.
So Betty's glitching the fuck out and he's like, don't you deny me, Betty. And I was like, oh God, it was so intense. Mm-hmm. What did you think of that whole opening sequence?
I mean, I don't know.
Let's just terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, it gets worse.
And
then Alice walks in.
Yeah, Alice is like, "Hey, who is that Jughead? Tell him that his like serpent friends are so annoying."
She's like, "No, it's not Jughead."
She's like wiping
she's
her face.
sketching out. By the way, I just want to say Lily Reinhardt's performance
killed it.
Amazing.
Oh my God, killed it.
She made me feel so many type of ways. I was like, oh my God.
Shout out.
Her acting was like next level.
She did a great job. This episode. So then it cuts to the next morning, and the sheriff is talking to Alice and Betty. And oh wait, no, that's not what happens. Oh, in that moment with
Fred.
No, in that moment with Betty and Alice's mom, she's like, you know what? I sent those letters off to Sheriff Keller. There might be something off with those like letters. Like he's gonna analyze them. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's happening on the side. Then it cuts to the Andrews res, and Fred and Archie are talking, and Archie explains to his dad, like, listen.
He's like, the red circle's done, Dad.
He's like, we killed it, like, real quick. And
I retired.
We shut it down. I sent, like, an apology video. Yeah. It didn't go viral, though. It's fine. And Fred's like, thank you,
Fred
son.
Is so cute.
Like, you're back.
Yeah,
like,
he's like, I'm glad to have my son back. Like, where did you go for the first 4 episodes?
And then Betty gets a text, or he gets a text from Betty saying, walk me to school. Yeah. Like, ASAP Rocky.
Pause. This is a big moment.
Okay.
This is a big moment.
Go for it.
Why? She's texting him saying, like, come through for me right now.
Yeah.
And I just feel like everything in this episode was like the beginning of the end. Like, trigger. Uh-huh. It's done now.
Yeah.
Like, she hasn't spoken to Juggy at all. Mm-hmm. She's reaching out to Archie, being like, I need you right now.
Yeah.
And Mans came through for her. He's like, well, let's walk to school together. Yeah. Cool.
So you're saying that there's obviously a shift that's happening.
Big shift.
Right.
Big shift. And whether or not she's doing it intentionally, like, he's lied to her over the couple of episodes, but she doesn't really know that. Yeah. Whether or not she's doing it on purpose or, like, she's just kind of going to Archie because, like, he's the protector, you know?
I mean, and that's the thing that kind of frustrated me about this whole situation. On the way to school, so they walk to school, and Betty decides to tell Archie that she got a phone call from the Black Hood. In what world is telling Archie Andrews anything the best idea of all time? Never. It's never. and be like, what are you gonna get out of Archie fucking Andrews? He's gonna start another second red circle. Like,
it's true.
I don't know what she was gonna. She's gonna be like, we're neighbors, so it's like normal. Like, bro, you couldn't like just like quick time go to Pops and like talk to your fucking boyfriend about this shit. Like, I mean, clearly there is supposed to be like in the writing and the way this is all set up, there's a clear divide as to like what's going on with those two. Like, Jughead's over here doing his own thing in Southside, and she's doing her own thing here. Like, that was why he was in this high school in the first place. Like, there needs to be like a disconnect between Bughead. And so, yeah, in this conversation, Archie basically says, you need to tell the police. Like, I don't know what's wrong with you. And I said the same thing, like, go tell the police. And she's like, no, I can't, because, like, he has all this information. I can only tell you, I don't know what to do. I don't think it was really resolved in that walk. He's just like, okay, I'll do this with you. Like, we're going to do this together.
He's like, I got you.
Right.
And, like, honestly, like, for a girl to hear, like, I got you, like, I'm here for you, that's, like, the biggest turn on ever. Like, she's like, okay.
I got you, boo-boo. And then it cuts to the lodge residence.
Yeah.
And Hiram's reading the newspaper, and he's like, Alice, that bitch. She, like, came for me in the newspaper saying that I'm, like, this, like, super sleuth snake or whatever, like, coming through hard. And he's like, thanks a lot, Alice. I'm trying to, like, sell it, like, seal this deal. I have an open house that's coming up. And she's like, effing my shit up.
Yeah.
And so he's like, the St. Clairs are coming to the open house. And Veronica gets excited. She's like, she's like, Nikki's coming.
Oh my God, Nikki's coming to town. I was like, why are you so excited though?
I guess they're like old school friends.
So I thought they were exes at first. That's sort of like how they like prefaced it all in the promos. I was like, okay, like why is she so excited her ex is coming to town? Like there's gonna be drama. But then I'm like, they weren't really exes. They're more like friends. Yeah. But like like
family friends or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's like, so they both say to her, both parents are like, listen, Linda, you gotta help us out. Yeah. Help us close the deal. Show him a good time. And she's like, don't worry, I got you guys. We're gonna do this together, lodge style. So
my question to you is, do you think her motivation is all about impressing her parents at this point, or is part of her being excited for him like the fact that she just like kind of likes him too though?
She is 100% in it just to impress her daddy.
Okay.
100%. Daddy Lodge is like got her wrapped around his finger. Okay. That's what I thought, at least. Yeah. I didn't think that like she felt any type of way about the entire time. Then it cuts to Southside, and Sweet Pea got a big shiner.
Oh my God, he's so
because Archie punched him in the face last episode. And so Jughead kind of gets the lowdown, and he's like, what the hell did you guys do? What happened
First of all,
last
him
episode?
reading the newspaper, like, it looked so, like, unlikely. He's like, did you even see this in the paper? Like, oh, I'm sorry, did you read the paper this morning? Like, you're a student. Like, no student, like, reads the newspaper.
I mean, Jughead does. He's like...
Juggy, but not the Sweet Pea. Because he's like, did you see this in the Riverdale Register?
Why?
I'm like, okay.
Why? Because he's a Southside Serpent? You don't think they can read? What's wrong with you? So then they're like, yeah, what happened? Like, what was this fight all about? And he's like, Dilton. He's like, what did you do to Dilton? Dilton had to go to like the hospital for a knife wound. And he's like, he stabbed himself. Like, what the hell's wrong with you?
But did he though?
I was asking myself,
because he probably would have.
He probably would have. Like, first of all, so I was like, maybe I should watch that slow motion scene again, because like I feel like he probably would have done that. But then he's like, your friend Archie did punch me in the face, like with my face. Yeah. And he's like, it's payback time. And poor Jughead is like glitching the fuck out. He's like, yo, what are you guys gonna plan? Is that plans for a pipe bomb?
This was insane to me. I was like, what? He's like, what are you guys gonna do? Like, I'm like, think they're gonna like go and like have another fight. Like, he's like, no, he's like, we're making a bomb. I'm like, what?
And like the schematics of a bomb are like on this table,
like in the front of the schoolyard.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, sure, fine, if you guys want to be open about it. And then it cuts to a shot of Tony, and Tony's like, well, what are you gonna do? She's like, kind of like, oh well, like this is our life right now, and
this is our life right
this is our life, and you know,
Tony's like sitting there like ready.
Yeah,
she's like ready to like drop the tea though. Right. She's ready.
So. You know, Jughead is like, you know, like blowing shit up is not gonna make anything better, and then Sweet Pea's like, you can't be like half a serpent. You have to like come through or like don't come through. Like you can't just sit on the fence with your Northside friends. And then they like dip, and then Tony stays behind, and she was like, listen. Shit like went down ever since your like dad left, like because he was like our protector. He was the one that was trying to keep the peace, and so clearly and obviously Jughead feels this kind of like responsibility innately to be like, okay, maybe I need to join them just so I can,
which makes no sense because you're a 16-year-old kid and your dad's like a 40-year-old man who can govern a gang,
and it probably took
you're in high
time
school.
for that to
of course
too.
But like you're still a child.
But like what?
I get why he has that pull. But I'm like, bro, like you're like literally going to class right now.
Yeah.
Like what are you?
But what
gonna
can
do?
he do? His friends are literally gonna get blown up to bits.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true. That's true. He has no choice.
He's like, I guess
I don't know, like call the bomb squad or something. I don't know.
Call 911 on them. Yeah, being a narc. Yeah, let's see how that goes for him. So anyway, he's like dilemmas, and then it cuts to Riverdale High, and the gang is kind of chilling in like the commissary area. We need to give this this
honestly
area,
I think it's the lounge,
like
student lounge,
student lounge, like nicest student lounge of all time. First of all, and Veronica's talking about her friend Nick and like how he's coming into town.
She really annoyed me in this episode. Like her annoyingness like came through. She was like, we were like the will they are like won't they of like our jet set like squad. I'm like, oh,
we
like they're making her
Gossip Girl were talking about the
exactly.
time.
I'm like, oh my gosh. And then Kevin's like, yeah.
He's always so excited about gossip. I can't. And then the entire time Archie's just like, but who this? Who this
Archie
person?
was super quiet.
He was quiet.
Yeah.
He didn't perk up.
Maybe he's just like coming down from like his crazy like 4 episodes.
Yeah, true.
Poor guy.
He was like, yo, I had to do an apology video like 2 minutes ago. It's like hurting my heart.
Yeah, and he's like, what's going on? And she's like, oh, my ex is coming into town. And he's like, like
he didn't feel no way about it. But he also
I'm like, but this poor guy, he's been dealing with so much ish.
Yeah.
Now he's got to deal with like this too.
This poor guy. But at the same time, like, do you feel like all these moments, and we've been talking about it for the past, like, I don't know, this whole season so far, they're moments together and like them as a couple, official like girlfriend boyfriend couple. Do you feel like he's
100%.
invested at all? Like, I feel like
he's
he doesn't care.
Not that he doesn't care. I think in this episode, I think you completely saw like how different they are. Totally.
Right.
Like totally, he's looking at her and he's like, who are you?
Yeah. I don't even think it was like, who are you? I just feel like he's just like disengaged. Like he's just not there.
But I think he's looking at her and saying like, who is this girl that like I thought I knew? She's like about to like do a line of coke with this guy like in her room. Like what's happening here too? Like, you know?
Later,
so I think he's just looking at her being like, well, I don't really know you. That too, 100%. He's like out of focus for sure. Yeah. But like those two things that are like hitting him and he's like, I don't even know what to say. Like he's not even talking.
Right. And so then it cuts to Jughead at the bar, like real quick, and he's like, I want to be a serpent now, y'all. So then he goes to Tall Boy and he's like, yeah, and then he's like, let's see if you can survive initiation.
Yeah. No, that's when they like, isn't that when they like come to his? Oh no, yeah.
So then like that's like the beginning. God. He's like, okay, I made my decision. This is. So what
are you telling me all these high school kids did this thing?
That's what I was
like,
gonna say too.
This is intense AF. Like, Tony did this too.
Yeah, I was like,
Tony got beat the F up. Come on.
That was intense. Yeah.
I was like,
I wanted to know what the gauntlet was, and when it got to it, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I'm like, so everyone did this.
I was like, damn. Anyway, so then there's that scene really quickly, and then it cuts to the Cooper residence, and Betty gets another phone call. So it's nighttime again, and he's like, are you alone? And she's like, yeah, I'm alone. My parents are at work. And he's like, yeah, because I can see them through the window. Because we know that like the fucking place is like right there. Yeah. It's a gigantic window that Alice like threw a fucking stone through.
Yeah.
So he's just like, she's a thorn in your side and your mother. Oh my god, all these fucking lines now that I'm saying them,
yes, homie. I'm telling you, when he called her about Alice, he was like angrier than like I've ever heard him being, you know what I mean? It was like personal almost. It felt very like personal. That's why, So
then he's like, check your email. And he's like, publish what I sent you to know that like you're loyal to me. And she was like, before I do that shit, I want something in return. Oh yeah, and by the way, this whole time Archie's sitting in the room.
No,
and
he's sitting on her bed.
Oh.
He's sitting on her bed.
Oh, you're just like, wait. JLAG, you're missing a point here.
He's on her bed.
Yeah. And then he was like, but he's just sitting there like.
He's like listening, yeah.
Like he's just like, I don't know. What
put him on speaker.
Yeah. So she's like, I want something in return, and he's like, while you're like, I'll give you something, and then I'll answer your question.
Yeah.
Like, do this for me,
and
I'll answer your question. And it's a picture. She opens up her email, and it's a picture of her mom being arrested as a Southside Serpent, badass Alice Cooper.
She looked badass AF like, in her leather jacket and her hair.
Yeah, like 80s style. So then she was like, what am I gonna do? And then it cuts to Jughead's place, and that's when people show up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And they're like, your initiation begins now.
Yeah.
With the guardianship of the beast. And then they like drop a dog.
Literally like throw a dog on his bed. I'm like, huh?
And they dip. So Hot Dog gets introduced, and we were talking about this like very, very briefly. Like Hot Dog is Jughead's dog in the comic book, so I guess that's how he gets the dog. I don't think he's like related to the gang. He's not the gang dog.
He's not the gang, yeah.
But in this, that's how it is.
In the squad.
And then it cuts to the next morning, and Tony and Jughead are like, "Oh, so you got the beast? How's it going?" Yeah. He's like, he's really like scratchy or whatever, but he's cute. And he's like, yeah, everybody takes care of Hot Dog. And he's like the third one. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, the third? That's so unoriginal. And she's like, yeah, like your fucking name? Yeah. Like, shut your mouth.
Yeah.
And then he's like, true. And then it cuts to Betty and Archie. And Archie's like, yo, you need to like go and like do something about the situation. You can't like post this picture. And she was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. My mom's gonna get so cheesed if I do this. Like, she's like, I don't know, like I'm gonna glitch out, like she's gonna get so pissed at me if I like send this out. So Archie obviously once again is no help. He's just like supporting her. And then it cuts to Veronica welcoming Nikki and the St. Clair family to Riverdale. And I guess is it like a 5-star hotel? It's like some
the 5 seasons.
Yeah, the 5 seasons. And
but it looked like their house, like their apartment. I was so confused.
Originally I was like, oh, they're staying at the residence, but that doesn't make any sense. So then she's like, see me as your corporate concierge. And he was like, hey, you're still charming or whatever. What were your first impressions of Nick?
He was like the perfect guy for that guy. You know what I mean? Like he looked like a New York guy.
He was like typical
like Gossip Girl, like
Chuck
like
Bass.
Yeah, exactly.
Style.
Totally.
And then it cut to the Cooper residence again, and this time with the sheriff. So Sheriff Keller's like, I got some news, guys.
I'm literally rolling my eyes. Like,
so he's like, the letter is fake.
It's so useless.
And I wrote down, it's his first piece of real evidence or real work that he's actually put in to be like, yo, listen. And this is all just like assuming that it's like, not that like that it like he is telling the truth.
Okay.
Based on like what we said in the beginning of our podcast. So then like of course Alice spirals, and she was like, maybe you did it. Like, maybe it was like, you, Betty. Maybe you're the one that like did this with your friend because you guys were like bored or something.
With Juggy.
And she's like, are you fucked? Like, why would I do this shit? And then
like maybe you were just bored with your boyfriend.
Yeah, and then it cuts to Sheriff Keller, and he's like glitching out. He's like, I'm gonna go now. Like,
he's like awkward mom and daughter drama.
Yeah.
Exit.
Yeah. And then real quick time, Archie's like working it out.
Yeah.
Like shirtless. And he gets a text from Betty, and she's like, we're dropping that shit because like Alice came for her. And she was like, you know what? I'm going to drop this thing into the newspaper.
She's like, let's do this.
Yeah. And
Archie's like, cool.
He's like, right on. And then he just keeps on doing his bicep curls. And then it cuts to Jughead's trailer, and he's practicing the oath with Tony.
Oh, God.
And she was like, I just want to know, like, where is this all coming from? Like, why are you suddenly out of nowhere being like,
why are you so turned up about it? Yeah.
And he's basically like, yo, listen, after what you said to me, I don't want this to turn into like an all-out war. And so then she's like, all right, whatever, like, do whatever you're gonna do. And then it's like, then the initiation starts. Mm-hmm. So then it cuts to him at the bar, and like the guy's like yelling in his face like, what the fuck is that? What is this? What is oath number 1? And so then like I think the last one,
we leave no man behind. I was like, what? Like, you're the army now? Like what is this?
In unity there is strength. And then he's like, sick, you learned it all, like congratulations. Let's move to the next thing. And he's like, time for the next trial. And it's like, snakes. Like it's literally a snake on
snake.
like the pool table, and he's
and like honestly, that was the coolest part of this all. I was like, sick. They're gonna show like his hand going into a tank.
Yeah.
And like they literally don't even show it. They like cut to the end.
Cut to him getting bitten by the snake.
I was like, wow.
And him like retrieving. He's like, yo, Tony, that was crazy. He's like, I got bitten and everything. And she was like, yeah, but you're not gonna die because it's like not poisonous or whatever. And she was like, you're almost a servant now. Like one more step to
you're
go.
Almost there.
And she calls him
Yeah.
Jaggy.
No.
Oh, Hannah.
I'm not liking Tony. I'm not liking her.
We'll talk about
and I almost
her.
feel like when she said it, like she booked herself too. She was like, oh, true. Like that's not what
She's
I call
that's
him.
Not my thing.
Yeah.
And then he's like, that's not
like,
your
know
thing.
yourself, girl. Know yourself.
It's like stealing Betty's line.
But like, see, he doesn't say anything in that moment. He should say like, huh? Like,
yeah,
you don't call me that.
Yeah,
like
it's true.
Man.
And then it cuts to Pop's diner.
And Pop finally does something.
What do you mean?
Thank you.
He does.
Thank
He
Pop.
just says something. Like he doesn't even do anything.
He's like, I don't judge you, Alice. I'm like, yeah.
He's like, it was years ago, and she's like, the fuck.
She's like, what are you talking? What are you talking about? At first, I thought he was like about her order. I'm like, oh, like did she order like 8 burgers or something? I'm like, oh damn, like he's judging her. And I'm like, oh true, like the article.
8 burgers and 5 milkshakes just
like,
for
I don't
Alice
judge you,
Cooper.
girl. Eat your burgers.
And everybody's kind of like lurking at her.
Yeah, they're like laughing
like, whispering
at her
and stuff.
Okay, relax.
And she's like, what the hell? And he's like, here's the school newspaper that I have under my table just for you to
like,
read.
Pop, you need to like go to work. I don't know. Like
retire.
Save your diner. Like you couldn't even do that.
Waste. And so he shows her the paper and she's like so cheesed.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to the Cooper residence. She's like, who gave this picture to you?
Yeah.
I feel like I burned every single copy of it. Like I even went through the records. Yeah. See, as
and
I'm talking,
Hal's standing there in the kitchen while she's yelling at Betty.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, as I'm talking about all these things, and now that we started off this whole episode with this whole theory that Hal might be the person, I'm like connecting, like it's making all like the wires.
That's why I wanted to like preface it with it, because like now you're like seeing it.
Yeah, for sure.
See?
Because now I'm like the only other person that could have this is someone
is Hal,
like Hal,
because he would know that it's out there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Oh my god, girl, I think you nailed it. But Betty comes for her and she's basically like, listen, I did it. She obviously couldn't tell her mom like legit like,
and she made a good point.
She was like, I'm doing this because you have this holier than thou attitude.
True.
You think you're better than everybody else, and I'm here to be like, no, you're not perfect.
Like you have flaws
you have
too.
some shit. And then like Hal's like, that's enough, Betty, and that was like the only thing.
Yeah, okay, Hal.
And that was it. Then it cuts to the lodge residence, and like we're upstairs in Veronica's room. And she was like, thanks for entertaining my parents. And he's like, what are you talking about? I love your mom's flan. I'm like, okay. Like Spanish flan. Like, okay, like let's just throw that one little thing in there. I also didn't realize that Hermione was such a good cook, but I guess she is. Sure. And then randomly, I didn't even realize that Archie was invited to dinner at all. I thought he was a ghost. Like,
just like lurking.
I thought it was like a dream sequence that he was like imagining them like getting together.
Oh my god!
And him like sitting in a corner because he wasn't even
he was
speaking.
So quiet.
He wasn't doing.
Did you want him to get angrier?
I just wanted him to say something.
Yeah, me
like
too.
Anything.
Yeah, I was like, you're too quiet almost.
This guy is like
but
literally
I guess he
coming
wants
for your girlfriend.
Yeah.
He's just like sitting there silently, and I was like, why is he just lurking there, like sitting mopey? Like, if I was Veronica, I wouldn't want to be with him at this point either. Yeah. Like, forget this relationship, man. You guys aren't even interested. And so Nikki, we find out that he's basically like a drug user. Yeah. And he's like, hey, you want some jingle jangle? I'm going to snort it off my hand.
Yeah.
And she's like, nah, I'm good.
She's like, nah, I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. And then he's like, what do you losers do here anyway? Like, he's totally like shitting on the town. And she's trying to like work both worlds, you know? She's got her man on the side and she doesn't want to shit talk anybody, but at the same time she needs to impress this man for her family. So I get where she's coming from. And he's like, ooh, I didn't know you were kinky. And he like had this like her ears for the Pussycat dolls, or the Pussycat, sorry. And she's basically like, that's when I'm like in a band. And he's like, you're in a band? Because like I think he's into music in New York.
Oh, true.
So he's like,
that tip that Hiram said in the beginning was so random.
I think it was just so the Pussycats can later be in the episode. I feel like that was all the reason why.
Okay. That makes
just
sense.
because like otherwise it would be like, why are the Pussycats at this fucking like things right now? So he's like, oh, you need to bring them over. I'm gonna have a party. Like, let's like turn up. And she was like, let's see. And then it cuts to the Cooper residence again, and Betty gets another phone call. Another phone call. And he's like, how does it feel to knock your mom down off the high horse?
Yeah.
And she's like, we had a deal, bitch. Tell me, like, I get to ask a question.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, you can ask your question, but you can't ask my name. And there was like a pause.
Well, obviously, like she knew that.
But there was like a 2-second pause, and I could feel like she was like in her brain. She was like, "Shit."
Yeah.
she's like, I can't
Damn
ask
it.
my name.
That was the question.
She's like, "All right, okay, next question." And then she was like, the face under the hood, would I recognize it?" Which is a very good question. Like, do I know you?
Yeah, do I know
like, have
you?
I seen
Yeah.
you? And he's like, yes.
It's like, yes, queen.
And then he's like, I feel closer, but I don't like sharing. And then
Yeah,
he
that
starts
was so weird.
Then he starts talking shit on Veronica, and he was like,
Yeah.
your twisted friend and her corrupted family, who like the mom was like a philanderer. And then she was like, what do you mean? Like, Veronica's innocent in this whole situation. He's like, is she really?
Like,
and
you
then,
know the truth.
And then like he doesn't say this explicitly, but I guess at some point in time in the phone call he was like, cut her out, or I will cut her, period. And so she's like freaking out, and then it cuts to a Pop's Diner moment, and we get a Bughead scene. Finally in the episode we get a Bughead
cute.
scene. They make out. They're
It
happy.
felt like the last kiss.
Oh, so sad. And but this was a moment also where they were talking, and both of them are lying to each other point blank. You know, at this point in time, she's not telling him that she's getting phone calls. And he's not not telling her about the fact that he's basically joining the Southside Serpents.
Yeah, like,
which lie is worse in your opinion?
I think his lie is worse.
Because this is like lifetime.
Because hers is like, first of all, like she's terrified of her life and everyone else's life. That's why she doesn't want to tell him. But his is like, his has been lingering from like the episode, like the first episode. Yeah. And I feel like he's kept her in the dark for everything to do with that whole like.
It's true.
Thing, you know?
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Even the snake bite, like even that, he's like, it was the dog.
Yeah, the dog bit me. And also she didn't even question like, why do you have a dog now?
Yeah, it's so true.
Anyway, whatever. And it was like a really sad moment. She was like, I wish we could run away. And like you could
oh my God,
see it in their
so
faces. Their
sad.
faces are just like, yeah,
him too. He's like, I'm done.
I'm tired. Like I'm over
She's
this.
like, I wish we were like Romeo and Juliet. But like we both like survived
like,
it.
but,
like what?
But, like the happy version of it.
Yeah, like we don't
we
die.
Both don't kill each other. And so like, yeah, it was a really sad moment. And you're saying it's like just a little bit. And like, yeah, so like you said, do you think that was like one of like the last ones?
That kiss was definitely like the final kiss. Yeah.
There was like a nice little lens flare.
And it was like uber, like she like held it, and I was like, oh, she's saying bye.
Oh man, that's so sad.
Yeah.
So then it cuts to the school, and Nikki's like in school, but like not in school. Like he's just lurking.
He's like lurking
at the lounge, and he's like, "Oh, MJ, the Pussycat dolls are. Oh man, the Pussycats are amazing. I want you guys to come to my hotel party." He's like, "Come at like 11 o'clock," and the first thing I thought was, "Sounds like a Harvey party." That's what I wrote down.
Oh my God,
a Harvey Weinstein party. And Cheryl's like, out of nowhere, she's like, did somebody say party? Hey.
Yeah, she walked in. She's
up.
amazing.
She's
no,
so
he was like, he's like, come for 10. She's like, I'll be there at 11.
Yeah.
Like, of course.
she's like, I'm Cheryl Bombshell. I'm like the it girl of Riverdale. She's like, what's going on? And so yeah, he invites her too. And then it cuts really quickly to Betty and Archie, and he's like, did he call you again? Archie's like, did he call you? And she's like, no. She lies to him because I guess like she doesn't want to like reveal that like Veronica's basically on the target list now. Yeah. And he's like, what are you gonna do? And she was like, I don't know, nothing's gonna happen right now.
Yeah.
And then Veronica comes through, and she was like, okay, can you guys come to this party? I want you guys to meet Nick. And they're like, okay, you know what?
He's like, okay, I'll come.
This, whatever. So then we get to the hotel party in the hotel lobby. And Nick just like right off the top is like, anybody want to do drugs with me? Like, anybody want to do jingle jangle?
I got the jingle jangle.
And
Reggie's like, from me. He's like, I'll give it to him.
He's like, I'm the one.
Literally, his only storyline this season has been like the drug dealer.
I'm the drug dealer. Yeah. And so everybody's chilling. The Pussycat Dollars are there. Pussycats are there. I can't believe I keep calling them Pussycat Dolls.
Well, why are they, yeah, kind of.
And I don't know. They're like friends.
Yeah.
And so he's like, don't be a buzzkill, Veronica. Don't you want some of this? And I guess his full name is Dominic because she was like, Dominiki. Okay, fine. I'm going to do it. And so then she's like, everybody, let's all do drugs. You want to do drugs? You want to do drugs? You want to do drugs? And so she's asking the Pussycat Dolls. And then like the one that never fucking speaks ever, she's like, yup. She's the one that nods. Like it's
she
not
wanted
Val.
to do it.
She's like, yes,
she
please.
wanted to do it.
I need drugs in my body right now.
The drummer girl. Yeah, she's like, yes, give it to me now. It's like now we know where she goes when like she's not with them.
She's doing jingle jangle in the corner, and so Kevin is like, yes, like
everyone's like down,
whatever. And then even Archie's like, you know what? If you're doing it, let me turn up with you, like whatever. And then
at first I thought Archie was gonna be like, you know what? I'm done with this shit. Like, who are you? Like, what are you doing to everyone? But he's like, you know what? I'm down. He's like, give me one too.
To drugs. I'm good with that. And there's like a slow motion shot of everybody like fucked up, and there's also of course a shot of like Cheryl gets a slow motion hair flip every season, I love it. She's just like
poor Kevin. I feel like he got like whipped by it.
I feel like I'm gonna find a GIF. I'm gonna GIF that shit.
Man.
And literally Debbie. Betty is the Debbie.
Betty's the Debbie. Yeah.
She's sitting in the corner. Her hands are crossed. She just like looks so straight edge, and everybody's like turning up and like getting pretty intense. Like basically right in front of her, like Archie and Veronica are like having sex on the dance floor, and
Reggie and Reggie and Josie were hooking up.
Yeah, they were like doing stuff in the background. I was like,
they were doing stuff.
And she kind of, and then at that moment, Veronica's like, "Yo, turn up with us, like you know, like have some fun." And she was
also,
like,
why didn't nobody invite Juggy? Like he didn't even get an invite. So tight.
Well, he's busy like doing initiation and stuff, I guess. And then she was like, "Yeah, you're pretty fake though. Like you kind of come off as a privileged, shallow, airhead party girl, and like now that this like friend of yours from the past
and
comes
Veronica's
through,
like standing there like taking like one hit, she's like ugh. Second hit, she's like ugh.
And then Archie's
like, huh?
He's like, yo, girl, what's wrong
what are you
with
seeing right now? Like back the F up.
And then she's like, she's not really friends with us. Like there's nothing real about you. Like there's always like a surface like layer underneath. You're like still a bad person. And she was like father, like daughter.
Yeah.
And you know she's that
like,
hit her.
She's like, you're gonna come kill me.
Yeah.
You're gonna put a hit on me.
Like, are you gonna ask your daddy to do that, or are you gonna do it yourself?
Yeah. And then Veronica's like, duh.
And
she's
he's like,
dead
you
now.
fake bitch.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa. I was like, damn, Betty's really pushing that shit hard.
Yeah, she went in very, very hard.
And
it was very painful to see that.
It was painful because I'm like, you guys are
first of all, Veronica's like still on her high. She's like, what's going on right now? Like, why are you tripping right now?
Exactly. She's like, we're all on drugs except for you, and why are you the one that's like turning up for me right now? And then she's like, you know what, listen, if you're gonna be this way and I'm such a monster, there's the door, bitch, leave.
Yeah,
so
she
leaves.
Well, I am leaving.
And then she's like, wow, what a buzzkill. And then then they just keep going.
Yeah.
And Betty's like gone. Then it cuts to Juggy at his place, and Tony's like, listen, if you want to get out of this is like your moment to be like, cut this ish out, because it's a serious situation. The gauntlet is serious, and like getting into the serpents is no joke. Like we are a lifetime. Like this is like a real thing. And she says like all of your friends will be gone if you do this. Like don't think that like do
you think she was like warning him like, I care about you, like be careful, like I don't know if you really want this, or like just like telling him like this is what's gonna happen?
As much as I'm still not a fan of Tony, and I'm not a fan of what she does at the end of the episode, I do feel that she's being pretty earnest as a good friend to Jughead, saying, listen, you're going into a gang. This is no funny business. She is being like the surrogate girlfriend in this situation because he's not telling Betty anything. So she is like, she's not like, come through, like, you know, like let's just do this together. Because she could totally be that person. She could be that really hateful, you know, like just come on our side, like just do it, like it's eventually gonna happen. We have not seen this like diabolical side of Tony, and I don't think that's what her character is. And I don't think that's what I would want her character to be. I think she is an honest person, and at the end of the day she just wants to like make it known like you're in the south side now, so like just come through for us like if you want to, but this is a serious situation. And he's like, you know what, I'm good, thanks for your warning, I appreciate it. But she's like, your friends are gonna be like out of this situation if you leave. And I was like, oh shit. So he like goes through with it, and then it cuts back to the hotel, and Nick is talking to Veronica.
So like everyone's gone now.
Everyone's gone, and he was like, you know what, I don't care what your crazy friend just said, you're not a bad person. And then he Harvey Weinsteins her on the couch.
Yeah.
He puts his hand on
That's
her,
when we
her
should
thing.
have known. Like,
Yeah. I feel like as soon as he said, come to my place at 10 o'clock, I was like, Harvey Weinstein. Like, that's the first thing. Like, I'm not even joking. That's the first thing that came to my mind. And so she's like, don't touch me. I thought we were just friends. Like, you know I have a boyfriend. And he's like, oh, fuck that guy. He's like, I know you want me. You're so sexy. And and then she's like, no. And then and then he's like, it's the same old Veronica. You're such a tease.
Yeah.
And then she slaps him, and then she leaves. She's like, fuck you, dude. Yeah. Like, you're such a crazy ass.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to...
And he was threatening, like, the deal, too.
Yeah.
He's like, my dad's not even going to do the deal with your dad.
And then she was like, get out. She's
yeah.
like, you're so lame.
Boy, bye.
And then it cuts to, like, the loneliest bus stop of all time.
What is this scene? Like, I was like, did they take this scene from, like, La La Land? I'm like, what's going on? Like, I'm going to hear City of Stars, like, in any, like, second. Like, where is she sitting? Literally the middle of nowhere.
Does she not have a car? Like, how did she get to the party in
like,
the first
what
place?
is she doing?
Like, I don't understand why she's in the middle of nowhere.
Like, it was a beautiful shot.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, girl, where are you right now?
It's just lonely and scary.
It just looked weird.
Quiet.
Yeah, and there's, like, a random lamp there. I was like, what?
And so she gets a phone call once again from thing, and like, what was her ringtone? It was like lollipop, lollipop. Anyway, yeah. So it's like creepy, and she's like, "It's done now. I broke off my relationship with Veronica. What else do you want from me? Like, what do you want from me to like for you to stop?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Jughead is next." He's like, "Jughead is not worthy of your love. Cut him out, or I will." And she's like, no, not Jughead. And then she doesn't know what to do. She's like fucked up. And then it cuts to Archie. She basically like fills Archie in at this point. And she was like, you know what, listen, I lied to you. He did call me back again. And she
was like bawling. Like, this scene made me feel so sad. She was like so like, because he came in, he's like, what the hell was that last night? Like, what did you do? Like, why did you say those things to Veronica? And she was like bawling.
Yeah, she was like, I had to cut her out because like she's gonna come for her.
Yeah.
And then he's like, this is enough. He's like, he's torturing you. I'm going to call somebody. And she's like, please don't do this. And then she was like, you now need to like break us up, me and Jughead up. Like, you need to go see him because it's going to, like, I can't do it by myself. So now Archie's like stuck in a place where he's like, okay, well, now I have to like break up for her, but at the same time, like, I want to tell him, but like, anyway, so she's like, low-key break it off, and then it will get better after this is all done. Like, you can see it in her face. She's like so hopeful.
She's like, we'll just go back to like what it was.
She's like, don't worry, this is fine, this is what it needs to be just for this moment in time because I love him so much. It was so sad.
It was really sad. Really sad.
I felt so bad for her. Then it cuts to like the open house, and everybody's so turned up. Mommy giving me JLo vibes with that like cutout and the high bun. Loved it. And the lodges all look on point, of course, obviously. And Fred is like sitting in the corner like as a loner.
He's like staring off at the distance.
Hermione's like, okay, Hiram, like, you go do your thing. I'm gonna go talk to this fucking loser. And
what did you think about that scene? Fred and Hermione.
I thought that I was like, I know that they had like a thing last season.
Do you think like they can possibly still have something?
No, I don't know. Do you? I feel like at this point in time, number one, I feel like Hermione is like a character that is like, she's number one, I feel like loyal to her man now that he's out of jail. And number two, like, she's got motives and ulterior motives, and she was playing Fred from like the get-go.
She was.
And like, yeah, maybe feelings were like in there too, but at the same time, like, I'm pretty sure she cared more about the success of her own family than like loving this like poor fucking construction man. You know, like, I don't see that happening. And yeah, what about you? What did you think?
I definitely think she's like torn. I feel like there's moments where like she sees him and like I think he reminds her of like the good person that she can be. And so I feel like when she's with him, I feel like she feels that, but then like her other part of her life pulls her so far to the other way.
I also love the fact that like Hiram feels no threats from Fred.
Yeah, I thought for sure he would be like, oh, don't go beside. Yeah, he didn't really.
He's like,
he didn't really care.
He's like so waste anyway. And then while they're talking, she's like, OMG.
Well, first, Hal came in.
Yeah,
by himself, and someone who asked him, was it Hiram?
It's Hiram. So Hiram switches like with Hermione. Hermione goes to talk to Fred, and they're having their moment. And then Hal kind of comes through out of nowhere, and he's like, oh yeah, where's your wife? And he's like, she's not here today. Like she's like not.
She's not feeling good after that.
She's not feeling good after that whole moment. She's gonna lay low.
Yeah.
And
shut up.
And basically, so. Then like it cuts back to Hermione and she's like, so Fred, and she's like, oh, I'm there.
And I was like, who is it? I didn't know.
I fucking could not wait.
But why is she so amazing?
As soon as I saw this red that red dress flowing at the bottom and then the slow pan
like, if you want to talk about a JLo, like she was JLo, like that with that flowy dress. My god, and the snake necklace. I'm like, girl, you are repping.
She was looking hot AF.
Oh my god, I can't wait. I can't wait for FP.
I don't
Alice.
want to give her this at all, but at the same time, she was kind of giving me like low key T Swift vibes a little bit. Like,
why?
Because
why would you say that?
Look what you made me do. Music video.
No, don't even bring her into this podcast. Don't.
All right, I'm pulling it out. Whoop, rewind.
So she comes in. She walks all the way in, like swaying.
She looks amazing.
And then
phenomenal.
What did Hal say to her? She's like,
hey, and she's like, shove it, Hal.
She's like, shut up, Hal.
She's like, shove it, Hal.
Like, I love the way she talks to him, though. It's amazing.
Shuts him down. And then it cuts to Nikki and Veronica.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, yo, you're like cray though. And he's like, I'm so sorry. I just want to apologize about last night. I was out of hand. And he's like, you know what? I'm kind of actually like in rehab. Like I'm trying to get better.
Yeah.
She was like, good for you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, thanks a lot. And then she dips. She goes off to like get ready for the Pussycats or whatever. And then Cheryl like lurks in. She sees him from like the end corner, and then she starts talking to him. And then it cuts to Jughead at the trailer, and Archie's like on his mish to like tell him like, yo, like something. And I think he had a plan to say something, but he didn't know what he was going to say to break them up when he got to the trailer.
Yeah.
But then it didn't really help the fact that like,
yeah, I think that changed like everything.
It obviously changed everything, because Jughead was like, you have to leave now, and Archie's like, what's going on? And he was like the freaking people were coming for the initiation like in that exact moment.
Yeah, I almost feel like Archie was like, he got like a high out of like talking to Jughead in that way, almost like, because like Betty asked him to do it. Right. So it was almost like he got like a power almost that he was like saying this to Jughead. True. And I think that only happened when he saw Jughead like with those guys. Yeah, he's like, what the hell? Like, you are leaving us? Like,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah. So he sees them and he's like, what are you doing? You're joining the Southside Serpents, like, since when?
Yeah.
And so then he was like, Betty doesn't want to see you anymore. She saw you going down this dark path. And he's like, what are you talking about? I literally just saw her at Pops yesterday. And she's like, nope, he doesn't want to see it. Like, ask her yourself, see like if she wants to talk to you. And then like Jughead has this moment and he's like, holy shit, like this is real. Like he's like, after what Tony said to him like the night before, I'm sure he's probably like, all right, fine. Tell Betty I got the message. Get the fuck out of my face.
So sad.
And like there goes the friendship for like a minute. I'm like, oh no. I was like, our crew's like breaking up.
Yeah.
You got so many feels about it. It's like really sad to see that
for sure.
start to break apart.
And like how he broke down in seconds.
Yeah.
He was like, Betty would never do that. Betty would never send you to break up with me.
Yeah.
Betty would never do, like, he was so confident. And then like as it was hitting him, he was like, oh my god, like fine, tell her that like I got it. Like I was like, oh my god, it changed so quickly.
And even seeing Archie and Jughead having that moment to be like, go fuck yourself. I was like, oh no. I was like, save your friend. He's like going down the wrong path. So yeah, it was really sad that they couldn't be there for each other in that moment. And so then it cuts back to the open house, and Cheryl's talking to Nick, and he's like, sorry, we didn't get a really chance to like talk to each other. We were all in drugs. And then Cheryl's like, don't worry, it's probably because Betty had that Britney Spears moment, like meltdown moment.
Yeah, the breakdown.
And he's like, you know what? Let's get to know each other now.
Yeah.
It's like, you can make it up to me. And then he like grabs a drink real quick.
Yeah.
And then like drops a fucking pill in there and gives to her, and she like chugs it. Yeah. She's like clap. She didn't even like look in the like look at it at all. Like let it sit in her hand.
It's like,
for,
why
like,
didn't he
2 seconds.
take a drink?
I was like, damn, she's like she's thirsty. And you know what's really, really funny about that moment? I didn't even notice that he drugged her until after, like, when she's like swaying around. I had to like rewind and be like, because it was so fast.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But that's how it happens.
That's how it happens, guys. Real quick. So then it cuts to Hiram, and he's like, yo, thanks for like coming through for us. Like, here it is. And he's like looking all dapper and shit. And then he was like, and here are the Pussycat Dolls. Like, he just like cuts to like,
what did you think
singing.
about their performance?
It's cute. I feel like whenever they perform, I'm like, it's cute.
I love their
cute.
performances. I felt like this episode, they pushed it so hard.
Yeah. Like,
and another thing is, their music's always on point. But I felt like for this sequence, when all this shit starts happening, when like Nikki and Cheryl leave, that music really threw me off. I was like, this music's not making me feel any type of way.
Yeah.
It just didn't go. It didn't like flow. You know what I mean? Like,
Fair.
I feel like that music should have been like a scary like soundtrack or something, and it was like the girls just like singing. I was like, okay.
I think the song was in the middle of like being poppy and being a little dark, because it was just like a little
for me.
Sultry,
it didn't, because I was like, I want to feel something right now, and like it wasn't like, I was like, okay.
Because the moments that they were cutting to were pretty dark.
Yeah, they were super dark.
But at the same time, like, yo, what are you gonna do? Like, they're not gonna sing like the darkest song ever.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, maybe they shouldn't have like performed in that moment, or like let them perform and then put like another like sound. Like, this is the highlight of the episode. Like, this is it.
This is the moment. Yeah.
Like,
so yeah, while the Pussycat starts singing, it cuts to that Jughead punchline essentially at the trailer, and then Archie pops. He's like, "Jeez," he's like, "Oh, everything's like failing," and then at some moment in time, it cuts to Cheryl, and she's like woozy. She's like, whoa. And then Nick's like, okay, let's go. So like he sees them dip, and then as the Pussycats are performing, Veronica sees them leave, and she was like, something looks a little off. And then like the song is still playing, so they're done with the song, but like all these moments are still happening. So Jughead's getting the shit beaten out of him, and then on top of that, there's this like slow motion shot of like Nick taking her to the hotel and putting her on the bed, and then slow motion like all the Pussycats are running up the stairs. They like open up the door, and then they beat the shit out of him.
They literally beat the shit out of him. They're like stomping on him like on the ground. It was amazing. It was amazing.
It was so good. And then Jughead finally becomes a serpent. Like, he gets the jacket, and everybody's like, yes,
he transitions.
Betty gets a call once again, transitions to the call, and she's like, I'm done, bro. Like, I just want to know who you are. And he's like, meet me at this abandoned house, please.
Yeah, in the middle of the night.
So
cool. Cool,
like,
Betty.
Okay, cool. So she goes over, and she gets a phone call while she's in there, and he's like, there's a gift on the floor, open it up. And then she's like, what do you want me to do? And he's like, put it on. And it's a hood. It's like a mask. And she's like, why am I putting this on? Why are you doing this to me? And he's like, I just want to show you that we're the same person.
Okay. Reach.
Because we're wearing the same mask. We got like twin masks now. And then she like hears something, and then like she runs out of the house. She like dips. So she doesn't really get to know who he is. No. Even though he said like,
definitely
you're
not
gonna find out. Then it cuts to as Betty's leaving the house, like all distraught and stuff, Archie gives her a call, and she was like, Archie, I don't know if I can talk. And he's like, you have to come right now. Like, something happened to Cheryl. And then he hangs up. He's like, I can't deal with your shit right now. You have to come because something happened to Cheryl. So then it cuts to Cheryl in bed, like at like whoever's house. I don't know whose house it was. And like everyone's consoling her. Like Josie's there, and Veronica's there, and Betty's there, and Archie's there. And Archie's like, obviously turned up. He's like, what are you gonna do? Like, he's like, I'm gonna like punch these people, this guy. And then Cheryl's like, no, don't worry about it. Like put away your cape. The Pussycats came through for me. And she's like, I want to press charges. I want him to burn. She like got really cheese. And then there were all these like cutaway shots of Betty reacting to Cheryl getting pissed off, and then Veronica feeling bad about the whole situation, but then she was like, it's not your fault, I still miss you. Like there was like a really quick moment of like Betty coming in for Veronica and being like, it wasn't your fault, and it was almost like this like low-key apology.
Like she looked at her being like, girl, where did you go though last night? Like, you were crazy.
And so then there's that moment, and like clearly there's something's gonna happen from that. And And then it cuts to Tony congratulating Jughead. She was like, congratulations, you are now...
Go home, Tony.
Well, now is she home now?
Ew.
Envy's pissed. So then she's like, all right, well, now you're a serpent. And then she goes
now I get to kiss you.
She goes in for the
Shut
kiss.
up.
She goes in for the effing kiss.
No, because she was like, what's Betty going to say? What's your girlfriend going to do now? And he's like, no, I'm like, that's like not even a problem anymore. She's like, oh, really? Here, let me kiss you.
She's like, Mac attack. And then she like kisses him. And then it finally cuts to the final scene, which is Betty in her room getting another final phone call.
This girl's phone bill is going to be like turned up this month.
And so he's like, you broke the rules. You told Archie.
Like, how is he going to know that?
And yeah, exactly. Unless he knows the phone bills. He has access to the
he
phone
pays
bills.
for her phone. Oh, wow.
Right? And he's like, you broke the rules. She's like,
Damn.
please. She's like, give me a name or your sister is gonna die. And she's like glitching out. She's like, I don't know what to do. She's like, please don't do this to me. And then like he's like, if you don't do it, I will kill your sister. And then she was like, Nick St. Clair.
It has to be Hal.
And then
it has to be Hal.
And then he's like, I knew we were the same.
Yeah.
Click. And
yeah.
then she was like, fuck. And that's the end of the
Yeah.
episode, guys. Let's get to our favorite portion.
Recap roundups. Best moment.
My best moment was the Pussycats basically kicking the shit out of
It was
Nick.
amazing.
I felt like it was a very like feminist moment, and I feel like especially what's been going on
You're
in
so
the fucking
right.
news,
Yeah,
it's like very like Harvey Weinstein
all
gets
those
his like
men.
ass
Yeah,
kicked
yeah.
for like sexually assaulting people. What was yours?
Alice Cooper.
Hello.
Alice Cooper, mommy.
Hello.
Mommy came through so. I love when the parents
Amazing.
like come through and like either have like really funny lines or whatever, and like
Or look bomb AF.
and
She
Alice
looked so
was
good.
so on point, and just like having that like snake around her. I'm like, she's repping her like true self.
Yeah.
So hard right
She's
now.
like, here I am, bitch.
Do you, boo?
What you
Do you?
gonna do?
Loved it. Loved it. WTF moment. My WTF moment was when Nikki spikes Cheryl's drink, because I was just like really caught off guard, because when he just spoke to Veronica, he was like, no, I'm good, like I'm going to rehab, blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
It was
okay,
so
I totally
fast.
believed him, like I really did. And then like literally like 10 seconds later, he's like popping something in her drink, and I was like, what the hell's going on right now?
Yeah, true.
Like,
and it was so quick. Like,
yeah.
I barely noticed it.
Yeah.
My WTF moment was the jingle jangle scene in the beginning where everybody like gets high at the party. I was like, this is so extra.
I'm
like,
surprised they went there.
Yeah,
I'm surprised for like a network show, like they were allowed to go that far.
I mean, I feel like because
like,
they look like literally like sugar candy. Like
that's
things,
why I think
like,
they got.
But he did snort it off his hand.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I was like, damn, that's like pretty like drug using. So
times are changing.
They
never did that in the OC.
No. Anyway, so yeah, I just thought it was an unnecessary moment. So I was like, oh, this is so stupid. WTF.
It still was fun to see, in the sense that like I love to see them like kind of just like cut loose and like have fun.
Sure.
And like remember last season we got to see when they went like clubbing. So like it was
yeah.
almost like that, but it was like a little like it went too far almost.
It was like extra.
Yeah.
I felt.
MVP. My MVP was Archie.
Okay.
Because I feel like Mandems came through, and he has been coming through, but like in a crazy way all season. But now he like really came through for his friend. When you really look at their relationship, like they've been best friends their entire lives, and like I feel like he does care about her so much. Even in that moment when they're in the student lounge and Veronica's like yapping away, and he sees Betty from like the hallway, he like runs out to like talk to her. Like he still cares about her, like his eyes on her, you know. So I feel like for me, he was like my MVP.
I don't know. I kind of disagree in that regard, but that's fine. I felt like he was kind of like didn't do enough. I feel like I put a lot of pressure on him to be like better than who he is. So that's kind of where I was coming from. But he's trying his hardest, I guess.
Yeah.
My MVP were the Pussycats. Like, I mean, I don't know if I can like group them all together, but the fact that they beat the shit out of
Were they all there when they were beating him up?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Val and the other girl too?
Was
she off doing drugs?
She was off doing jingle jangle. Yeah, they all came through and they were like beating the crap out of him, and I was like, yes, this is a great moment. And like it was cool that they all banded together, literally banded together, and like beat him up together. It was cute.
LVP.
Who was your LVP?
My LVP was Juggy. I feel like he's been breaking my heart, man, since like the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
He's been like lying a lot to her for like, I feel like for like, he doesn't need to be lying, you know, just like say the truth. But I feel like it's been going on for too long now.
Yeah.
And now she's lying to him.
Yeah.
And I just feel like he was a shitty boyfriend.
Yeah,
he's like, girl, where you been? I missed you, like, in the beginning. And I'm like, yeah, like, where have you been though?
Yeah, you haven't been coming through, so what's your problem?
Yeah,
what's your situation?
LVP for sure. Juggy.
My LVP was Hal.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he wasn't doing anything this entire episode. The entire episode he was like, don't touch your mom like that. And then, like, when he saw her at the party, I was like, first of all, like, what is your line? You don't even know who your wife is, because literally she showed up like 2 minutes after you came through. And when she said shove it, Hal, it gave me even more life. I was like, yeah, shut up, Hal. Yeah. I was like, you shut up.
Yeah, you shut up.
You useless. But now that there's this whole twist with this whole potential theory of him being the Black Hood, I'm like, oh shit, this could be a situation. And he can go from LVP to not MVP, but like WTF for sure.
Yeah.
That would be cray.
Do you think like it's a group of people?
I was thinking the same thing. I feel like maybe people are covering up for other people. Like maybe it's a network of Black
like
hoods.
dads. I literally feel like it's a group of dads being like, our town isn't safe anymore.
Yeah.
How do we protect our children? How do we
let's kill all these fucking people?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so intense. And leave Fred Andrews out of the circle, obviously. They're like, kill that dad, but everybody else is like safe.
Yeah. I don't know, whatever.
That's it. No, I really feel like it's a Pretty Little Liars gossip, A is like a network of people. It's not just one person.
Yeah.
It would also lend the fact that there's like more than one person writing letters to people. Like there's different people fucking with different people.
You're right. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting if that's the case.
The best line.
What was your favorite line? Best line?
My favorite line was when Betty was like going off and she was like, the only reason Veronica hangs out with us is because of circumstance.
Ooh.
Because I felt like that was like the blow. Like I was like, oh god, girl, you ain't coming back from this. Chest, she didn't have to be that savage.
Yeah, she didn't have to push her that far away, because she was kind of dropping a little bit of a truth bomb. Did you think it was?
That's what I mean. Like it was almost like it was too real. Yeah.
My best line goes to Tony. I know she wasn't our favorite this episode, but she says, "You join us, and you got to be willing to die for us." Like this is like when she gives her like final warning to Jughead, and she said, "Your Northside friends and your girlfriend, you're gonna look up one day and they're gonna all be gone. That's what happens when you join a gang." And I was just like, damn, that's real.
It was real. It was very real.
And it's accurate, and I don't know what's gonna happen next. Like I feel like what she was saying to him was like, that is the turning point for everybody. Like he got a tattoo now. Like he's like in the gang. So like things have shifted. Like really? It is,
and like in
it's
one
real.
Episode,
it's shifted. It's done. Like this is solid. So he can't be like next week be like, okay, I'm not a part of this. Sure. So her prediction of things falling apart is terrifying to me, because I'm just like, I want them all to be together all the time. I know. And also I did notice this episode we didn't get a Jughead like overview, like he didn't do a narration.
Oh my god, I just got goosebumps.
Right? So
because he's like not that kid anymore.
Yeah. So
that made me so sad.
That made me really sad too. So anyway, that was the episode, guys.
I'm sorry, Bughead fans.
I know.
I'm really sorry.
Tease the end.
Sorry that happened. Really good episode though. Yeah. I still feel like it was really well done.
But that's the episode, guys. Don't forget to tweet us, follow us, like us.
What's our Twitter?
Our Twitter is recap_rewind. Our Facebook is recap_rewind. Our Instagram is recap_rewind. We're also on Spreaker. We're on iTunes. Check us out. Comment, like us.
And SoundCloud. This episode will be available on SoundCloud for you guys to download if you need to go on there.
Join the conversation.
But
listen
we're
to
everywhere.
us. Tell us what we're what you guys think about Riverdale and us talking about it. And that's pretty much it.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.